morning, everyone. I'm excited to kick things off. My name is April Riegler. I am the founder and the executive director of Hope Shines. I founded Hope Shines in 2007 when is that the clicker? Awesome, thank you so much. When I traveled to Rwanda on vacation. So this is my first experience when I was going to Africa, and I was traveling with an organization, a national retailer for whom I was a buyer for, and we were working on a basket program, and this was changing the lives of all of the women and men who were trying to basically weave back their future as they were recovering from the genocide. So when our vendor asked us if we would like to take a vacation and go to visit these people whose lives we were changing, we all jumped at the opportunity. On the very first day that we were there, we went to the Genocide Memorial, and it was a very overwhelming and heavy experience. You're surrounded by sarcophagi after sarcophagi where 250,000 people were buried. In 1994, there was a terrible genocide in Rwanda where almost 1 million people were brutally murdered in a matter of 100 days. So we are learning about this, and we're educating ourselves in Rwanda about this, about their culture and their past and their history. And as we were leaving, we were all extremely boggled with this idea of how people could be so brutal to each other. And we went to an orphan center afterwards, which was where the rebirth of this nation was happening right at the ground level, where children were trying to rebuild their lives and trying to move forward. So as we are extremely overwhelmed by this idea of the genocide, we encountered all of these children who were so excited to meet us. And as the crowd was being jostled, my skirt was being tugged, I had my camera, I had my handbag, and I didn't know what to do with this little girl who had her arms just stretched straight up, crying, needing to be picked up. I immediately was frozen with that fear of, what if I can't make you stop crying? So I put that away and put her up into my arms and just held her. And she immediately stopped crying. And in that moment, I realized that this little girl just needed to be held and that there was no one there to do that. So I decided within that moment that I could do something to change this. I spent the week thinking about it as we traveled around the country. And at the end of the week, I sat down with my vendor, who was very involved with women's rights and with humanism within Rwanda. And I said, I have an idea. I want to start a mentoring program. Have no idea how to do it. I don't have a background in building nonprofits. I'm a buyer. But this is what I want to do, and can you help me? And she said, absolutely. And since I said that I wanted to do it, I have spent every day since 2007 building a program that will mentor children and keep them happy, healthy, and fed. And we are trying to not only feed their minds, but also feed their bodies. So sometimes when you want to start doing something, it's a hard road to hoe. And sometimes you have to hoe your own soccer field. So after our 2008 launch, we rolled in the boys. So in 2009, we rolled the boys into our programming after we had partnered with a soccer outfit in 2008 upon our launch. And in 2009, we needed a soccer field so that we could teach all of the sports, because I do believe through sports, you can expand the mind and you can get kids excited about certain aspects of education if you can weave them into the sport curriculum. Well, the soccer field wasn't ready by the time that I got out there, so I only had about 4 days. I hired workers. It wasn't getting done fast enough, so I got out there. And sometimes you got to be willing, when you're going to commit yourself to something, to not only get your hands dirty, but also to get your feet dirty. This is the result. That didn't wash off for about a week. The reason why it was so imperative is because I feel like if you make a promise that you're going to teach a child, then you need to keep that promise. And that year, we had a huge sports curriculum built, and it was really important that we had a soccer field, especially if you look in the upper left-hand corner. That is a professional soccer player from Rwanda from their team called Amavubi. And this guy was coming as a special favor to help work with the kids. And the kids were so excited. They were so starry-eyed. I mean, this is like a national hero for them. And this year, we also wove in wiffle ball. We wanted to teach them baseball, because now, instead of just playing soccer/football, which is their favorite sport, we're also teaching them new sports like baseball, and they're memorizing the rules, which when you memorize something, it's the more that you can memorize. We also taught them American football, and for many of these kids, it was the very first time that they had held an American football in their hands, and that was really cool to see. So we also use elements within our curriculum that are traditional. So not only are we teaching on the sports field, but we're also teaching in the classroom. This year, this is 2010 that you're looking at, and we were thrown into a situation where we had to figure out quickly what we could do with very young children, because this was outside of the camp program and we had been asked to do a special favor for an additional school. So we had a little extra time on our hands in Rwanda, and we said, sure, we can do it. So we brainstormed and came up with some of those songs that we all remember from preschool that helped us to learn. Would you cue the video, please?
Who can show me where's your head? Where's your head? Oh, good. So one fell off and bumped his head. Okay, who can show me a telephone? Oh, Mama called the doctor. And the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the bed. Oh, good. Okay, ready? 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. One fell off and bumped his head. Mama called the doctor and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the bed.
So the girl who is leading this, is a young woman named Kathleen, and she was our very first person to help us launch our extended program beyond our week camp program. So we actually hired her to stay and live and work in Rwanda for an additional 4 months after our program ended in the summer. And she ran a teaching program and helped to build capacity with one of the orphan centers with whom we work. We work with 2 different orphan centers. In 2008, we started out with 35 girls, and now I'm very proud to announce that we are up to over 150 children with 2 different orphan centers. So another way that we try to teach through fun so that these kids will be inspired to continue learning is by teaching things that are outside of their understanding and outside of anything that they've experienced. How many people have ever flown a kite and have wonderful memories of it in their childhood? So we really try to bond with the volunteers that we bring, because our camps are run by volunteers, and we want these volunteers, these mentors, to bond with the children and share their childhood experiences. So kite flying is a wonderful idea that we have of our childhood. So we all described some of the elements that we had growing up that we found to be fun. So when it wasn't just enough for me to build a kite flying program or an activity, I wanted it to be robust. We need to pack as much into these weeks to really inspire these children. So thinking about outside of the box, or thinking outside of the kite, outside of the geometry that it takes to build a kite and the mechanics that these children would be learning about flying a kite, we taught them a weather curriculum, and we also taught them the song from Mary Poppins, Let's Go Fly a Kite. So within a matter of an hour, we have talked about agriculture, we've talked about wind, we've talked about gravity, we've talked about grammar, we've worked on their pronunciation of English, and we've gotten them to sing all while they're building this craft activity. We really want them to feel so inspired so that when they get back into this classroom, that they want to continue to learn. And it was really fun for these kids to be able to make something that they could call their own and continue to use it. Another one of the elements that we've used in the past in order to sponsor more reading and to expand their minds is called Reading Telescope. And we put this through, I made this curriculum so that it would be extremely robust. So we would have them make a telescope, and we talked about space, and we talked about magnification, and then we had them look through the telescope at certain objects to make sure that they knew the English word that's associated. So we had them move through different sections, sort of like a scavenger hunt, and we would put mundane items out like a fork or a book or notebook, etc., and we would have them look at it and then say the word. And then we would have them draw the word. So we're having them do every type of activity that they could in order to memorize and learn this word. And then at the end, we played reading bingo. so that they have ingested these words and they know them in their brain, and then they have to give them back to us in a way that's fun. So speaking of ingesting, we had used Altoids because we did another craft activity with Altoid tins. We made memory boxes with them, but we had to do something with the Altoids. So we used them as the little pawns that were on the bingo, and we told the kids, don't eat them until the very end, once we've explained what they taste like. So, we're calling out the words, and we're looking out into the audience of our kids, and every once in a while you would see like, you ate your Altoid, you're not supposed to yet. So we try to keep it fun. And then here's a picture of where the kids are actually flying their kites. And many of these kids are suffering from HIV, or they have worms, or they have other sicknesses. And some of them are very lethargic. And there's one little girl who has been very sickly. Her immune system is compromised from HIV. And to see her running around with her kite with a smile ear to ear, it means that we are doing our job to keep her happy. And we're also working to keep her fed, because we provide a huge lunch every day of the week for our kids during our camp. And then we buy additional foodstuffs so that we can help the orphan centers save money on food for later, because the more that we can give them and more that we can supplement, the more that they can do for their children. So I wanted to show, can you cue the video? It's on the last one. Oh, whoops. It's not moving. There we go. Okay, so just to tell you a little bit more, when we have our classroom experience, we work with translators so that they can help to teach the kids in words that they understand, and then to also show them that, and these are local translators who are part of the college curriculum in Rwanda. And these amazing translators are such great mentors, because we come in and we're only there for a limited amount of time, but these are people that they see in their community every day. So these are students that these children are able to look up to and aspire to want to be. Currently, as I'm speaking here today, we're in a 4-month-long tutoring session where the children are coming in to get after-school activity help, and it's led by our translators who have been working with us since 2009. It's really important that we build continuity with the kids so that they know that they can trust who they're working with. So every Saturday, the kids come in and they're getting after-school help from out of their books and out of their homework, and are getting a wonderful meal at the same time. We have a Christmas party that's planned at the very end, and we're currently getting toys donated from a local restaurant downtown so that these kids can celebrate the end of their Hope Shines tutoring sessions. And sometimes this is a really great little video clip that I wanted to end with, where you can see that they're just playing. And sometimes it's just really important for a child just to play and to be a kid. Would you mind cueing the video? Some of the most interesting and fun bonding experiences come out of the downtime where we're not just talking in the classroom, or we don't have a strict activity that we're working on. And it's wonderful because our volunteers can bond, they can run, and they can play. And sometimes it's just really awesome to see a kid being a kid. Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate your time.